What's up, everybody? This is Newton Mayenge, and welcome to the league. In today's show, our special guest, Dylan Garcia, a surf rocker from Oxnard, California, joins us to talk about the struggles that men, but in particular, Black and brown men, face in regards to mental health. It's very important that we eliminate the stigma talking about men's mental health. So much pressure is put on our men in our society to stay strong, and in some circumstances, it's literally killing us. We also discuss his brand new single entitled Summer Love. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd love to welcome Dylan Garcia. Hey, Dylan, how you doing? Welcome to the league.
Hey, thank you, Newton. Good to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. How are you holding up, you and your family, when it comes to COVID right now? You guys safe?
Yeah, we're safe. We're doing good. We're still being productive and just keeping it busy as best as we can.
Oh, man. Thank God. It's unprecedented times. It's tough right now, man. But I'm glad to see that you're still being extremely productive despite, all the circumstances that's happening right now. The crazy circumstances, that is.
Yeah. It's kind of been a blessing. It's given me a chance to get a lot done, being able to focus more on the music, on my songwriting, and most importantly, be able to focus on my mental health.
And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because today's show is about, of course, your single that we'll discuss shortly, but it is also about mental health awareness that sometimes people have a negative stigma in regards to, but we want to have a healthy conversation to create a platform of support.
Sounds good. Yeah.
And one of the biggest things too, people may or may not know, statistically, 1 in 6 California adult may have some form of mental health need. Then you have 1 in 20 who suffer from a serious mental illness. And now you're looking at, from a U.S. perspective, almost half of the U.S. homeless population may have some form of mental health disorder. Yeah. So now when you're talking about people who may or may not be living paycheck to paycheck and they're dealing with some form of health issue, that can easily have them fall into homelessness.
Yes.
Which is crazy. And so, Dylan, I wanted to start the topic by saying, tell us about your story and what mental health means to you and why it's so important.
Well, I've probably been dealing with some mental health issues a majority of my life. Mm-hmm. But as well, I was, super intelligent, as a young man, as a kid, went through school, always got straight A's, nominated to go to West Point in the Air Force Academy. Flying that really, really straight, solid route, trying to do the best to represent for my family. I mean, they were really pushing for me to go to West Point in the Air Force. I was unfortunately not accepted because I didn't score high enough on the SAT. And little did I know that one thing that I was striving so hard to accomplish didn't happen, which opened the doors. I mean, if that would have happened, I don't even know if I would have even picked up a guitar. And the way things changed, I ended up going to UC Irvine. And lived out in Newport Beach while I was going to school there. Surfing was a big part of my life as well. Surfing is a big part of the healing process. And music just came hand in hand. Everywhere I usually went, I always had my guitar with me. And
wow.
That's when I really started pushing myself to learn how to play guitar. I think, speaking from a mental health, it really gave me a chance to express myself in music and lyrics and in writing. And music has also been a really, really big healing process for me as well.
Wow. It's crazy that you bring up music, because I know you and your father would listen to music all the time.
Yeah.
Growing up, and I know for me, basketball was my thing. And
okay, yeah.
I ended up going and playing ball overseas, and it gave me a great outlet.
Yeah.
And I know for me, even from a mental health perspective, I was in a car accident, and that's what ended my career. So I became extremely depressed. And so I started to seek, of course, God for me, my family, friends. I sought help professionally, and even becoming an entertainer and an actor and a model and a host. Those things literally saved my life, and a combination of those things.
Yeah.
So I wanted to see, how did music kind of help you combat some of the things that you were dealing with?
It really gave me a chance to focus and be productive. I think being productive and having different outlets of things to do when you're dealing with your own mental health struggles. I think those are very important. I mean, something as little as just going outside and taking a walk for the afternoon, a couple hours, just a change of scenery, because like when you're at home, you can really get lost in your mind. Just sitting at home, whatever you're doing, playing video games, watching YouTube, just that stuff, you can really get lost in your mind. And I think it's really, really healthy to have different outlets. Like how you said you played basketball, you had your accident, and now you're doing this. But you said all of these things help motivate you and get you out of that rut. And
Yes.
music for me, and when I'm writing songs, working in the studio or playing live, that really, the process building up to all that is what really, really saves me mentally. I mean, there was a moment in my life when it was 2010 and I wasn't really doing anything. I had just signed a record deal in 2009, and then I had the biggest crisis mentally in my life. And
Wow.
and I remember, like, I was just taking my meds, eating a bunch of food, and just gaining weight, just sitting on the couch,
Yeah.
not really doing anything. I mean, honestly, I'll be honest with you 100%. My daily routine was looking forward to see Kevin James and the show King of Queens.
Yeah.
That was like 5 o'clock. And I finally had this moment where it was like, okay, I guess this is what my life's going to be like. This is how my life is. I'm just going to, and my son was on the way. So it was, I guess I'm just going to accept this, be a dad, and never pursue my dreams ever again. And that moment, and now I look back 10 years later, and that moment is what really keeps my motivation going. Because I remember that I put myself in that mind state, like, man, I was really sitting on the couch, not really doing anything. And I always use that moment in my life to give myself motivation, to keep myself inspired, and to keep living, man, to keep living.
Wow. Wow. And and I'm glad you overcame that, because we have to draw from something
Yes.
to continue to stay motivated.
Yes.
And you made a decision that, you know what, things were bad, things were tough, but you're not going to allow certain circumstances to hinder your progress, as hard as it was. And I know for men, there's a stigma too, that we got to be tough internally, especially Black and brown men. We have to be tough internally. We have to handle things on our own. I know you're an advocate for NAMI, which is the National Alliance of Mental Illness.
Yes.
Can you tell me what they mean to you and what kind of programs they offer?
Well, they do help the mentally ill. But one thing that I always thought was so critical for me was the fact that they took the time to educate the family, to educate your family, educate your loved ones, so they can understand that it's part of the process. To be more supportive, and it makes them aware. I mean, just the education, because I mean, as Latino or as a Black man, these things that we deal with, it's not really spoken about in our culture.
Yes.
And you said, we have that we have that inbred inside us, inside us, that we have to be strong mentally. And we have to play that role, but that's the role that's been kind of played out over the years. And we men go through things as well, and sometimes it's tough for us to come clean with our families, our loved ones, that we're really dealing with stuff, because we're not seen in that sense. We're seen as being strong, macho, and caregivers, builders. We're considered builders, and when we have anything like that can have that negative, that can give a negative mindset to our family or to our loved ones, our friends, NAMI really comes through and educates them. I mean, back in and this is part of my story. In 2014, there was an article published about me in Latin Heat, and it was written by Elliot Esparza, and I basically put it out there that this is what I'm going through.
Wow.
Because a lot of people never knew. A lot of people didn't know about what happened in 2009 when I was really bad, when I wasn't doing good mentally. And when I finally opened it up and brought it to the air, I mean, I lost friends on Facebook. People stopped talking to me. and it was just like, wow, like, but then here's the flip side to it. There was a lot of people who reached out and said, wow, I didn't know you were going through that stuff. Like, you're so courageous. You're so you're so courageous to even put that out there. And I think that was kind of the jump off where I was like, okay, maybe it's not just about music anymore. And maybe my story is even bigger than I could ever imagine. And maybe now it's my story is to help not only inspire, but to give hope. To give hope. Because a lot of people think to me, it was a death sentence. Once I finally got diagnosed with something, I was like, man, like, there's something wrong with me. Like, there's something wrong with me. And to not be able to speak about it openly with friends, because I didn't want to come off and, tell my, I don't know how certain people are going to react to it. And, it's just been a development over the past 10 years to get to where I'm at now. And it's really like a flip side, like how I said, like something that I thought was my death sentence ends up being my savior.
Wow.
And I kind of see it. Maybe this is the plan that God had laid out from the get-go.
Yes.
Maybe I had to go through everything I went through to be able to having this kind of conversation with you right now, Newton.
Yes. Wow. And it's okay to be vulnerable, which is
exactly
one of the biggest things that in our communities has always been a no-no. It's always been forbidden.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because there's so many people who could literally help each other. As you said, there were tons of people who reached out to you.
Yes.
Even though despite that you lost some people who you were close to initially.
Exactly.
And it's tough. And I do want to mention too, while you were dealing with that, still in 2009, congratulations to you signing your record label. But in 2009, you also had an amazing performance, one for the ages.
Yeah.
At the House of Blues in Anaheim.
Yes. So I was
tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I was so back in 2009, I had just signed a record deal.
Mm-hmm.
And literally like a month later, I just wasn't doing good mentally. I was not really living in reality. Like my mind space was really out there. I really think I put too much pressure on myself, wore myself down. I wasn't really sleeping good. I wasn't really taking care of myself mentally or my health. I was just focused on music. It's like, whoa, I got a record deal. Like that's a majority of the artist's dream is to get a record deal. And for all that to happen, when I was in the hospital, I was given an injection of a medication, and I went to sleep. And literally, Newton, the very next day when I woke up, I was like, "Oh man, that was just something." I would have these kind of episodes, but they would go away on their own. And then when I woke up after being medicated for the first time, I woke up, everything was normal, and I was just like, "Whoa, this was just one of those things that had been going on my entire life." That went out of control.
Wow.
And once I realized that all the stuff that was going on in my mind, the hallucinations, paranoia, all that stuff, once I realized like, whoa, that wasn't real. That was not real. It really, really gave me the strength to get out of the hospital. And then I'm getting a phone call from the owner of the record label, like, hey man, do you want to open up the House of Blues? There were some big bands that were going to play. And I said, you know what, I'll do it. And, it was very exhilarating. It was a very exhilarating experience. Like, man, like I just went through all that stuff 3 days ago, and now I'm here performing. Like,
wow,
it was a very, very liberating moment. And the fact that I felt like I knew that it wasn't, that all the stuff that was going on wasn't what really was going on, and that's what kind of I had to accept the fact that, hey, I need to be on medication.
Yeah.
And it was a long road, because once I had my follow-up with the psychiatrist after about a week after the House of Blues show, they decided to take me off medication. They just said, you know what, you don't need to be on medication. You're fine. They couldn't really figure out what was wrong with me.
Yeah.
And so once when they took me off the medication, man, within 7 days, I was bad again, but worse than what I was dealing with. And, my son's mom had taken me to my doctor's office, and I blurted out the words to the receptionist. I said, "Hey, you know what? You need to tell somebody here but it came back. And saw the doctor. He was like, okay, wow, there must be really something wrong with you. And I'm like, well, yeah, man. I mean, I'm not doing good. It's obvious.
Of course.
And, so he did not put me on the same medication that I was on when I was in the hospital. Put me on a different one, and it literally didn't work. It literally didn't work. It like kind of just numbed me. I don't want to say made me a zombie, but it kind of just numbed me to everything. Yeah. And I went on like that for 6 months. I weighed 160 pounds when all this started. By the time they finally changed my medication, I was up to 220 pounds.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I put on 60 pounds in 6 months.
Wow.
And that's what I'm talking about. Those moments when I sat there on the couch, like, man, this is what my life turned out to be. And it wasn't like I was looking swole, man. It was about 60 pounds of all stomach, you know, and you know, I when they changed my medication, within 3 days, everything clicked again. My brain started firing the right way.
Yeah.
I picked up the guitar. For that 6 months, I didn't play no guitar. I didn't talk to the record label. I had given up. I basically just gave up on myself. And once the medication got changed, I mean, I'm back. I called the record label. I'm back. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
It also took me taking care of myself physically, exercising, going running, going to the beach, hanging out with my dog, just having those outlets.
Yes.
So I wouldn't just be so stuck in my mind.
Yes.
And that's those things that were very positive to help me get me out of that situation. But the one thing it really took was the will to want to be better.
Yes.
Yes. I know some people who have mental health issues who don't want to take the medication. And it's like some people, I mean, it's really sad, it breaks my heart because some people want to live with that crazy. So there's some people that don't want to get better, or they're just not even in a position mentally to even see what's good or what's not, what could be better for them. Some people are just so gone, and that breaks my heart, man,
Yeah.
And they don't have the family support. That's why you see a lot of people on the streets. I mean, that it's not just I'm speaking open here. It's not just they're dealing with mental health, but a lot of people, they deal with their mental health issues by using.
Yes.
You know, and
a coping mechanism.
Exactly. And that's why we have a big problem. That's why we have a really, really big problem. And I think that's what needs to be the focus. If they want to fix homelessness, they got to start at the core. They need somebody there on the front lines trying to help these people where they can get out of that situation, because it's not an overnight transformation. It's a process, and we need to find people that want to go in the front lines and actually address these real, true issues.
Yes.
I mean, we can put up homeless centers, but it ain't going to fix the problem. It's just, it may get the people off the street. It may not, but that's not fixing the core of the problem.
Wow. And it's interesting that you bring that up, because the core is very important. I mean, we're looking in the media right now. The whole situation even with Kanye, he needs, it comes down to the support.
Exactly.
And I don't know what kind of support he has or does not have, but we do recognize that it is a problem.
Yeah.
And it's something that needs to be addressed, and something needs to be done, getting back to the core of where that started for him to get him to that next level, just as an example. And I'm glad that you had the support and that you, once again, were willing to take that step. That's huge, brother. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you, Newton. Thank you. Yeah, it's something that drives me. I mean, I got a 10-year-old son now. I'm married. I have my wife, and I got to be the leader for the family. So it's like, I don't want to say I don't have a choice, but it's a choice that I'm making to be able to take care of my family.
Yes.
To be that leader that my son needs, to lead as a husband in my marriage. I mean, those things are also motivating factors. Because I mean, like I said, I could always go back to that guy on the couch, but I look back now and I was like, that wasn't even me. That wasn't who I am.
Yeah.
And I mean, coming from a Latino family, and I'm sure it's just alike with you. Mm-hmm. I mean, as men, we're taught to be proud. We're taught to be leaders. We're taught to be strong. We're given that role. So sometimes we can't even address what's really going on, and we just suck it up and keep going, man.
And in the meantime, you're suffering.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes, I mean, you can be living the life, but you can be dead inside at the same time.
Yes.
And that goes with a lot in the entertainment industry. In the entertainment industry, I mean, some of these tragic things that have happened where some very famous people have taken their own lives. And you see, we don't see the whole story. We're only seeing what's on TV.
Mm-hmm.
We're only seeing what's on the internet. And we don't really know what's really going on inside. And that's another thing that needs to be addressed at the core problem. At the core, that's where it needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
I mean, not only just for the homeless population, but for the population as a whole. I mean, I think we're in a completely different time now from when I was growing up.
You're right.
We didn't in the 90s. This wasn't even something that was ever talked about. It was, and I think it's really good for people like yourself having a show like this, people speaking up about it, people being open about it. And I do believe the stigma is going away because it's not, I don't want to say accepted, but it's actually out in the open where people can see it. And now other people can relate, like, wow, this person said something about it and spoke up.
So we have some great news. You have a new single out called Summer Love.
Yes.
Tell us about that new song that you have.
Well, Summer Love, the music part began when the pandemic started. I like everyone else, I was kind of confused about what was going on in March. People losing jobs, like this whole thing became serious. And my wife tells me, she's like, "Hey, why don't you? What about that song you were working on? What about that song you were working on a couple weeks ago? Why don't you get on that?" And sometimes I just lay down stuff in the studio and I kind of forget. They're just files that I kind of, for songs that I began working on, but I kind of forget because I'm working on I moved to a new project, and I listened to it. And I'm like, man, this is pretty groovy. Like,
pretty fire, right?
Yeah, this could be something. This could be something. This could be something. You know what I mean? So I was listening to it, trying to get a feel for what the hook was going to be, the chorus. And then the chorus hit me one day when I was walking. I was out walking, and the chorus came to me. "Hey, what's up, babe? What you say? Why don't you come home with me? Yeah, I'll take you to a better place. And yes, we can make more mistakes." So then that came to me.
Okay.
I recorded it on my phone. I recorded the hook on my phone because the melody was just on repeat inside my head.
Yeah.
And so then I had that, and I'm like, man, where am I really gonna take this song? Like, what am I gonna do? And then it hit me like a week later. I'm sitting down and I said, wait a minute, this is a song for the summer. This is the groove and everything is a song for the summer. So I started thinking. I put myself in a headspace that, like, you go on vacation as a kid. You go to that beach house for the week. You go out of town, you go camping, you're at school, you're off for summer break, you're back in your hometown, like something like that. But then you run into that one. You run into that female you always had an eye on. Or for the females, you ran into that guy. It was just like, oh man, like I remember that guy, and you run into him. But it's a whole different ball game now because you're a little bit older.
Mm-hmm.
And that connection happens. And that's how the story of Summer Love came about.
Wow. And I did want to add, I do a mean hook. So in a future project, let's talk offline. Consider me.
Sounds good, Newton. Of course.
I harmonize pretty well.
That's good. You need people with harmonies, man.
You don't want to do that with me. It will be a problem.
I got
career suicide.
I got auto-tune, brother. We're good.
Oh, that's the way to go, right? For guys like me. Well, Dylan, where can everyone find your new song, Summer Love?
So Summer Love right now is out on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, YouTube Music, Google Play. You can basically find it everywhere. Look me up, Dylan Garcia. all you got to do is look for the koala bear with the acoustic guitar and the fedora, and you found me. There's not too many other Dylan Garcias out there. And you can find me on Instagram at Dylan Garcia Music, and you can also find me on Facebook at Dylan Garcia Music. And to make things easy, just go to DylanGarciaMusic.com. You'll find everything.
Wow, that's awesome, man. You know something, Dylan, I really appreciate you taking this time. Yeah. Congratulations on your new single. I've already heard it, so it's phenomenal. I'm taking notes. So when I come to you, it'll be more of a preparation thing. I won't come crazy and whack with it. I'm gonna come correct with it. So.
Sounds good. Sounds good, man. Definitely. Thank you for having me. Definitely a pleasure speaking with you.
And guys, this is Dylan Garcia, the League Talk Show, Newton Mayenge. Please stay safe. Dylan, you and your family stay safe as well. We'll talk to you next time.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Take care, brother.
Take care.